Good morning, everyone. This is Phil Pugh. We're going to go ahead and get started for our, actually not quarterly, we are on our monthly schedule meeting for May 3rd. Here's the agenda as usual. We'll knock out most of this actually pretty rapidly. We're going to take a good look at, or a quick look at our budget this month, and then looking forward to reviewing it in a little more detail next month and kind of approving that budget. So let's go ahead and get started with a roll call. We'll start with Anderson or the hospital, starting with Anderson Hospital.
Eric Brandmeyer is here representing Anderson and Community Hospital Staunton.
Thank you, Eric. I know we just had Aaron from Alton. He had to step away for a quick second. Anyone else from Alton on by chance? Okay. Boyd.
Nancy's here.
Morning, Nancy. Thank you. Carlinville Area Hospital. Maybe someone just tried to speak but got cut off. Anyone from Carlinville? All right. Fayette County. Tina's.
And I'm here.
I got you, Tina. Thank you. Gateway Regional. Anyone from Gateway? No Rick or Danielle today. Okay.
Yeah, is on yet?
Oh, Danielle, was that you?
Yes, just logged on. Thank you.
Okay, gotcha. Perfect. Thank you. To our HSHS partners, Holy Family.
Cindy from Holy Families here.
Thanks, Cindy. St. E's.
Brad Perry's here for St. Elizabeth's Hospital.
Morning, Brad. Thank you. St. Joseph Breeze.
Stacy's here from Breeze.
Thanks, Stacy. And Highland. Okay. Go to Jersey Community Hospital. Okay, not hearing anyone from Belleville. You got myself, Scott Klosterman, representing Memorial Hospital, Belleville, and Shiloh. Mike, Gilbert, and Lee are out at austere training this week. Memorial Hospital, Chester.
This is Georgia. I'm here.
Georgia. OSF St. Anthony's.
Dennis Stanford's here, Phil.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Moving on to Redbud. Anyone from Redbud?
This is Tara. I'm here.
Gotcha, Tara. Seems like you try to creep away, and you creep back. Creep away. Creep back. Good morning. And Touche. No one from Touche. Okay. Over to our health departments, Bond County.
Hey, Phil, Dan's here from Sparta.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. I didn't mean to skip you. I apologize. Jump right over you. Thanks, Dan. Over to our health departments. We'll start with Bond County. Hey, Calhoun. How about Clinton County?
Clinton County's here. Nadine's here.
Thank you. And sorry, jumped off track. Eastside Health District.
Charnay Rainey with Eastside Health District is here.
Thank you, Charmaine. Greene County.
Kendra with Fayette.
Uh-oh, heard two folks. So yeah, we'll hit Fayette. I'm sorry. Who was that from Fayette? Was that Kendra?
It's Kendra, yes, I'm sorry.
Gotcha, Kendra. Greene County. Jersey County.
Heidi Carter with Jersey County.
Thanks, Heidi. Macoupin County.
Hey, Phil, it's Derek.
Thank you, Derek. Appreciate it. Madison.
Good morning. It's Michelle.
Hey, Michelle. Good morning. Monroe County.
Vicky's here.
Thanks, Vicky. Randolph County. and St. Clair.
Good morning, it's Kara.
Thank you, Kara. Appreciate it. With our community partners in IDPH, we'll start with our RMSC. Is Greg on this morning?
I am on, Phil, and Beth is off today.
Thanks, Greg. Going down to our BJC partners.
Hey, Phil, Sean is on.
Gotcha, Sean. Thank you. I think I see a few others. Jason, are you on? You muted or no? Okay. To our EMA agencies, anyone from an EMA agency on?
Good morning, Phil. This is Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Good morning, Phil. This is Keith from Jersey County.
Jersey,
Keith
gotcha.
Norman.
Yep, gotcha. Thanks, Keith.
Chuck
Any
Kelly's
other
on
EM
from MedStar.
Okay. All right. MedStar, was that Chuck? And is John on?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You also have John Nowak.
John, morning. Over to Abbott. Anyone from Abbott on this morning?
Yeah. Hi, Phil. Leslie from Abbott is on.
Thank you very much, Leslie. And SLU? Anyone from SLU? Scott Air Force Base?
Johnny Mack is here from the clinic.
All right, Johnny Mac, gotcha. Thank you. And any of our STARS partners?
Hi, good morning. This is Kristen Capps-Jones with STARS.
Gotcha, Krista. Thank you very much. I need to add, so to the good folks on the left side of the river, I do need to add the coalition one here as well. So anyone from the St. Louis Healthcare Coalition representing as St. Louis Healthcare Coalition today? Okay. If you're on and you weren't called or you want make sure you want to be captured, please toss it in the chat if I haven't talked to you yet. But we're going to go ahead and just get started at this point. All right, we're going to start off with Greg, my IDPH. Greg.
Hey, everyone. Good morning. I really don't have stuff today because I know Bill is going to cover the grant stuff because I've seen his communications back and forth with program managers. So I'll let him talk about any of that stuff. I will take just 1 second here to talk about the MCI event that we had. And MCI event notice went out asking everyone to update their hospitals with red, yellow, and green. And I know it wasn't on as an active event for very long, but we did have several hospitals who did not update their beds. So the only thing I would say to those folks who are wearing the disaster hat in this coalition for their hospital and they get that notification, I guess I would just ask that, possibly when you get that notification that you just contact whoever updates those numbers, like down in the ED or whatever, that they are aware that incident went out. I'm not sure that everybody is set up to get those notifications. And if you guys could just double check that they did get it, I think that might help with us getting our numbers updated quickly and get full participation from everybody, because that could have been a really, really messy operation for us down here with both sides of the highway, interstate closed, and some restrictions on being able to go north. So this one, really was important for us to get our numbers in because we could have gotten a lot more patients. I know for sure that we got 4 patients, but we may have gotten more, just didn't get a report on that. And that's all I want to say on that aspect, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Thank you, Greg, for that. This is one of the things that I was going to touch on today. It's kind of crazy because things happened when I was actually out on PTO, and we did have and Lee and Mike and everybody here on this side were again attending the austere um, patient care course that we got going on right now. And in looking of a total, I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 folks not update during that time frame. So yeah, that is a, you know, but we talk about it several times throughout, the years, and very recently, as a matter of fact, 2 coalition meetings ago about the importance of making sure that the event notification preferences within EM Resource are up to date, and that the appropriate folks have the ability to update. As we did talk about then as well, inside the coalition plan, it has 4 categories of folks that we want as a minimum for all the hospitals to have access to be able to update those red, yellows, and greens. And those red, yellows, and green, and those folks are the ED charge nurses, house supervisors. There's 2 others that escaped me. Oh, the HPP coordinator, and then there's one more. But again, vitally important information for the folks in the field. Now, when this went out, I think it went out the event started, at least when I look at it, it was right at 1300, at least when it was sent out. So at 1301, we have folks updating as soon as 1305, 1307. So some really, really rapid updates. Then some folks a little later around 1340. And I'll call ourselves out. We were late to update at Memorial. So those are really key spots where we have to be quick on the draw, because the EMS providers in the field are looking forward to that information and seeing where we do have true availability. So I do see a couple folks with their hands up, and I'm going to start with Eric Brandmeyer, because he was first to have his hand up. Go ahead, Eric.
Thanks, Phil. First of all, who pulled that activation from our region? Where did it come from?
Can I answer that real quick, Phil?
You can.
Sure, go ahead, John.
Let me tell you, this is how easy EM Resource is. You know that Mike Gilbert and Lee French are out in the middle of the wilderness. Very low access to internet. I got to give Lee French kudos for this. He received it, or he received the information, and he was able to put that out while he was in the middle of the training. So kudos to him. And again, they're out in the middle of nowhere and some crazy training, and they were able to pull that off.
Eric,
Thanks, John. But you didn't
Eric,
answer my question.
Yeah, let me go ahead. So Litchfield was the HSHS Litchfield was receiving patients.
Yeah.
And at the time they were receiving patients, I think they received a total of 8. They knew they were receiving a total of 8, but EMS was really having a struggle getting to the scene to be able to do an evaluation, a complete evaluation, because of the dust that caused the accident was also impairing the ability for them to do a proper triage. And so the Litchfield set up incident command and reached out to St. Elizabeth's to also set up incident command, with the knowledge, and what they were being told is that access to patients from the north had to go north, access from the patients south had to go south, because they could not go through this. And so upon them asking myself for St. Elizabeth's to go ahead and stand up our incident command, my first immediate contact was an attempt by phone. We'll talk about the radio here in just a little bit, because we did do that secondary, but my primary was by phone to Phil. Realizing Phil was off, I contacted Mike Gilbert. Mike Gilbert was the one that told me that both he and Lee were remote, to try and go ahead and use our radio channel to get Memorial, which we did do that, but I immediately heard back from Lee via phone. I gave Lee all the specifics on what it is that we were hearing from our incident command at Litchfield. Lee quickly not only took care of Region 4, but he, chimed in a little bit that there are some closer hospitals in Region 3 that he was going to make sure that as he got information out that he did touch base with those particular facilities. It was very quickly, those results started coming in, and we patched in Litchfield to the results of Region 4, and then they were able to, from their point, and we were looking at it for two reasons. Transfers out of Litchfield of patients just showing up that they couldn't handle the sheer numbers, and then also being able to pass the information to incident command that was on scene at that site. So St. Elizabeth's was the one that pulled the trigger on that.
Okay, I think it was awesome. I think it was much needed, Brad. Because the reason I was actually in Community Hospital Staunton doing the Emergency Preparedness Committee meeting. Perfect timing for that. And it was, I don't know, great minds, I guess. That's the reason I asked, because I was headed towards doing that. And then I got the notice that our region was activated for a bed count. So, because of course, exactly what you said, that absolutely was going on. Because I mean, they were reaching pretty far south with the EMS resources. We had a number of our providers in our area that were heading up there and transporting. So,
The initial information we received that, once again, nobody could do an overall triage just simply because of the issue.
Couldn't see.
But the numbers of vehicles involved were over 100. We heard that there were 2 tankers or trucks that are hazmat material that were involved, and vehicles were on foot. So that was the only piece of information that we had, but yet it was never confirmed from the scene until much later.
And then ultimately, because you struggled to go north. That was, like, to Mr. Atterbury's point, that was the big reason that we needed to be activated. And like I said, I appreciate you doing that. I was just wondering who did it, because like I said, I was headed towards doing that, and then I got the notice. So that's all.
Thanks, guys. It's been a great conversation, and I'll probably I'll probably have something set up, and I think let me just double check. I know Chuck had his hand up as well, but I'll probably set something up for next week, mid next week, to kind of do a QC/AAR, mini AAR about for this, because this is a real world response for us, and I will probably try to include Brian or my peers to the north in the Springfield region to see if we can get a little bit of their perspective and what went on there. Because Greg, I don't know, from my vantage point, I didn't receive anything from any other coalition, outside of seeing, at the time I saw Brad's note, I was just returning home. I was actually on a long run without my phone. So, but I don't know if they sent anything out, because I didn't receive anything.
Lee called me immediately as well to notify me. I got in contact with my counterpart in Springfield, Brian Kinninger, who was in touch with Brian Churchill at St. John's, and whoever is the disaster person at Memorial in Springfield too. So there was interaction going back and forth. And then Lee also told me that you were off that day. So I had a few telephone conversations with Lee when I was able to reach him, because there was a couple times it just immediately went to voicemail because of the reception area. So there was conversation going on there for the most part. A lot of requests started coming in actually later, like Brad said, because nobody knew what was going on, but the governor's office was calling, trying to find out where everybody went and if everybody was someplace. So there was communication going on. I just didn't want to bother you because Lee had said you were off. But if you
Oh.
want me to in the future, I'd be more than happy to.
No, I mean, no, I just was, I was just curious as if Brian and crew up there sent out anything through EM Resource because I hadn't seen anything from, when it, probably initially, popped off. So, but we can figure out a lot of that, hopefully next week, just to kind of round out things and make sure we're doing things well. What I will say is that, again, the response that we received in EM Resource was higher than what we've had on some of our exercises. So that's good. So we're getting better, and always good to come in the clutch. Glad to hear that other platforms worked well. Being able to, they're in the boondocks, so to speak, doing this training. So having FirstNet capable phones, some in hospitals, you guys have those as well. And if you don't have at least one of those FirstNet capable phones that we're paying for, please let us know. We want to make sure that you have those. So in times like this, we can get through. And to hear, obviously Starcom working and the lights, those are all good things. So thanks for everybody who helped and assisted and put their information in. And for those who are on standby, I'll try to close with this. At least from what I heard yesterday, there were approximately 38 folks transported, 38 patients transported, and there was maybe 6 fatalities. Does anybody have any of the specifics on that? But that's what I've received. At least looking up this morning. Did anybody have anything different with regard to patients transported and number of fatalities?
Fatalities went up to 7 last night, Phil.
7? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I have not lived here in the Midwest all my life. Obviously, I'm a transplant here, but is this something that's happened before, more common, in the mid-plains of Illinois? This is the first that I've experienced here. I've plenty of sandstorms in the desert, but or low visibility like that in the desert, but nothing like that here yet.
Not to this magnitude. There was we'll call it a similar occurrence. It almost happened at the same spot on the interstate. I don't know. It was probably about 10 plus years ago, if not longer. But it wasn't massive MVC type of a thing. I think it caused a few accidents on I-55. So it has been a concern that's happened before, just never anything like this. And the sustained amount of time on this one was just stupid, in lieu of a better word. So.
Indeed. Okay. And just so I make sure I'm not ignoring Chuck, I know you did have your hand up earlier. Did you have anything to add or?
Sir, I looked at your slide deck. I'm going to digress my question until later when we hit mental health.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well,
you do have something in the chat. Somebody wanted to talk.
Yeah, I see Aaron's note. Yep. Okay. All right.
Yeah, Phil, I'm working on an email to send you all.
Will do.
It's just in quick. It's we have an OR air handler unit project that's going to shut down our OR after hours. So I'll give you the details and loop you all in.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron. I know Beth is off. Oh, go ahead. Who's that?
Hey, it's Greg. Hey, I don't know. I had heard that the Springfield Area 217 sent out a mass alert to everybody. Did anybody get it in 618? Because I think that probably needs to be looked into, because if I did not get anything over my phone, but they ended up putting out a dust, storm warning thing. And I think that would have been a good idea to send out the 618 too, since so many people travel from up here on I-55.
Greg, I will tell you that is one of our tasks that is listed from Litchfield's after action. Their after action probably I don't think is complete, but we did meet as a system, and some people from the Litchfield area got it, some people did not, or whether they physically got it or heard about it. So if we want to talk about that at that meeting next week, I'll try and get some more information from them on that particular task.
Okay, that'd be
Yes,
great.
it's John. Hey, Greg, I did receive it, but it was late. But I did receive the 217 alert.
Okay.
Got it. Thanks. I know Beth isn't here, but any local health departments have any announcements that they would like to provide to the coalition? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on over to STARS. Anyone on
Yeah,
it
hi.
again? Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got some STARS region specific training and exercise initiatives that are coming up. Just to kind of remind everybody that may not know, the STARS region covers Madison, Monroe, and St. Clair counties on the Illinois side. So I will jump right in. The first two workshops we have are as part of our CCTA project. That's the Complex Coordinated Terrorist Attack. We have an identification, reunification, and recovery project, which we're working on. And to that end, we have a set of notification, reception, and reunification operations workshop. We're calling NRRO workshop. The purpose on this is to capture its information from and guide discussion with key stakeholders who may have a primary or a supporting role in notification, reception, or reunification operations following an active threat. So for this, we are looking at stakeholders in public safety, victim advocates, emergency management, law enforcement, hospitals, fatality management. The two workshops that we have coming up, the first is tomorrow, May 4th from 8 to noon. The next is Tuesday, May 24th, also from 8 to noon, and these are virtual as well. The second, along the same vein, is an investigative operations workshop. So it's a similar, but it's going to focus specifically on those who have a primary or supporting role in investigative operations. So again, we're looking at law enforcement, witness management, investigative processes, forensics, fatality management, hospital partners. And that workshop is also tomorrow, May 4th from 1 to 5 p.m. With our CCTA work, we are on a very compressed timeline. We've only got 6 months for all of the project work. So some of these workshop and seminar announcements are going to come out pretty rapid fire. I have been including Lee French in announcement emails. If there's a better person that I could send these to distribute these notifications out to the rest of the group, please let me know. I'm also going to put my email in the chat in case any of you are interested in these workshops, you want to reach out to me for more information. The second initiative I will discuss is our community-specific integrated emergency management course. This is a competitive course that EMI is offering. I believe they only do maybe a dozen of these a year. So we applied for it last year and have received it. We're going to be holding that on June 12th through 15th at the St. Louis County EOC from 8 to 4 p.m. So this is a 4-day exercise-based training that'll combine some classroom facilitated lectures as well as some discussion and operations-based exercises. And it's going to culminate in a functional EOC exercise on the final day, which we're also going to use to meet our MRSE requirements. Again, I just put my email in the chat, so if you were interested in that, I can get you the invite code, the flyer, any additional information. And then finally, I just wanted to briefly speak to our Regional Catastrophic Preparedness Grant Program. We are working with IEM Consulting for this project. It's intended to build some resiliency in our healthcare supply chains. Our work group met yesterday to begin scenario-based workshop development. Our first 4-hour workshop is going to be intended to elicit some more information to inform our regional gap analysis. We're expecting to hold that first workshop in June, but we are still finalizing the date. So, keep an eye out on emails for further information about that. That'll be the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Any questions for Kristen? All right, we'll move over to our mental health. I did not have any specific mental health updates this month. Again, I will I will say that, we've, over the past, I'm going to say 3 months, our CISM team has been putting in overtime, doing a lot of work with debriefings, et cetera, providing support to not only first and emergency responders, but even to some hospital staff around the coalition. So thank you to those who are a part of the CISM team. But I did know that Chuck wanted to make, had either an announcement or had some questions. Chuck?
Yes. So one, I've been working close with Comwell on a couple isolated issues down here. Many of our southern beds and Missouri southern beds are full. But for some odd reason, we are having difficulty with Medicaid patients going into Missouri. And I had talked to some Missouri partners before about this, and somebody referred me to that it was part of the SANE law that they couldn't send behavioral health patients into the Missouri hospitals. Well, it just so happens that I had pediatrics or adolescents that needed behavioral health services. Right now, with I-55 closed, I was able to secure a bed as long as it wasn't Medicaid. But as soon as I said it was Medicaid, they was like, sorry, we can't help you. We're not allowed to treat Medicaid patients in Missouri. Can anyone let me know why that is, that Missouri cannot accept any behavioral health patients from Illinois if they're on Medicaid or Medicaid managed care? Because I cannot find it in the SANE law.
I personally, Chuck, don't have any of that kind of that information or perspective. Anyone else across the region dealt with anything similar?
This is Tina. I also have.
I don't know if this helps or not, but I had, when researching something years ago, I was told that for Medicaid patients, that the money is supposed to stay in the state. And I know we have had transfers over to St. Louis, but I think that's what they try to do, is keep the Medicaid money within the state. And I don't know if that's still true today, but that's what I was always told.
Very poor practice. I'm sure you deal with it as well, because like right now, I pulled it up and I-55 still closed, and that puts our closest adolescent as being Lincoln Prairie, but we can't get to it.
Yeah, we absolutely deal with the same thing. I think the information we were getting, the 55 is open. Did it shut back down this morning?
IDOT's website is showing it as closed both directions again, and that was just as about 20 minutes ago. That somebody had their hand up, Phil.
I think that was Tina. Tina, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
What I can say is we had that problem with transferring mental health, but over to the Missouri side, and then those organizations did send us information and a written document that said they're now accepting these as far as managed care, and I think it has to do with their contracts.
I appreciate that. I mean, I just know the goal of Medicaid and the Medicaid managed care is to create access to care and take away the hindrance. And it seems that it's creating a hindrance in care.
Chuck, I will float that question to our risk manager and or one of the folks on our legal team, just to see if BJC, to see if they have any perspective on that. And I'll let you know what I get back. hopefully, I mean, probably won't get an answer back today, but hopefully, something maybe early next week. Anyone else? Any other mental health announcements? All right, we'll go ahead and move on. Pediatrics. I know Scott was on. Did you have any updates, pediatrics?
Not too many in regards to pediatrics. I know I was on the statewide call last month, and I guess the kudos from that is that Illinois is one of the few states in the country that actually has all regions with a pediatric plan reviewed, and we are now looked at as one of the, I guess, premier states when it comes to that for pediatric coalition plans. Which is kind of ironic, but it is what it is. But that was kind of one of the big takeaways from the pediatrics meeting last month.
Okay. Thank you. As far as REMERT goes, like I said, the whole team, a lot of the team is out right now doing the austere patient care course. So they'll be there through Friday. I haven't got any feedback from the team yet, but this is something that we plan on trying to continue over the next year and a half or so. What I will say is that REMERT has been, whether it's for event plannings, or what have you, they have been a staple to our community here, and expanding their skill set is part and parcel to why we're able to attract folks on that team, because they get opportunities such as this. So if you have folks that are, I don't want to say gung-ho, that's maybe not the right word, but really got some energy and want to participate in a community-based organization that does a lot for your community here, real-world responses, exercise and training, REMERT's a great place to start and get involved. So hopefully next month we'll get a little debrief on how this went, and hopefully we'll hear good feedback. John, I see your hand up.
Yes, sir. Hey, I just want to throw a little comment in there too. Again, this kind of training was pushed out. I've had the pleasure of being a part of some of it. I'm not capable of doing the whole week, but I've been in and out quite often. I can tell you guys that there are folks out there that are willing to do this kind of training. It is unbelievable. But what I would really like to say as far as REMERT, the reaching out to our community and getting people active and involved. We literally have the 932nd that has committed folks out there for this training. The 375th, Wash U is out there with some of their trauma physicians. This class is unbelievable, this training. But again, kudos to the folks and Phil and the Hope Coalition for help supporting this. Unbelievable training. I'll leave it at that, sir. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thanks, John, for that. We can take some of all of your not just yours, but I would say the coalition's moulage skills and movie making skills now, and put those guys through their paces, hopefully in this upcoming year. All right, we'll do a quick budget review for BP5, and before I even start there, I will say that this morning, 6:29 this morning, we did get a notification that the BP5 budget is available in eGram. So we're going to start moving forward with that. This is what we're kind of looking like as far as dollars and where we're allocating them as of right now. Right there where you see at the top BP5 at 522,631. That's what we're allocated for this year. And based on what we have on the books now from whether it's contractual salaries, all those type of things, the must pays, all the project proposals that we've received, everything, we're right around at the total. You can see right around 520,000. So it leaves us around 2K to move around right now. So when we kind of, finalize the budget. So these are the buckets where that money is going to be spent. So a few things I'm going to say about that. But these were the project proposals that came in, around 77,000 total across these 8 organizations. And you can scratch, or 7 organizations. You can scratch off the MHBS one. That isn't incorporated in here because those are some of our internal that we use, of the 250K that we're allocated to run the coalition. But the outside of that other 77,000 is what you see there. So from Bond, Boyd, Gateway, etc. These are the projects that we have. We're going to look at them in a little more detail next month, but these are the organizations or agencies that did submit project proposals and that we do have funds for. What I wanted to kind of really point out about this year, which is going to be completely different than last year, is that I'm going to go back to the original slide. The one thing you do not see on this slide is the word training and education. That is a category. We basically will have no money in training and education. And why? Because last year we spent $125,000, and this austere course is one of those. It was a pretty penny, but we have $0 allocated towards training. And that's primarily because of the equipment costs here. Of this 164,000 that you see on the screen, 144,000 of that we agreed upon, I think 4 months ago, 5 months ago now, this May. Wow. So I think in November, where we agreed that we would move forward with the updating, and it's not replacing, but refreshing our field or telemetry set that we have for field hospitals, et cetera. So that is of that, 90% of that dollar amount is dedicated to one item that we've got plenty of use of through COVID. So it has more than paid for itself, in my opinion. So hopefully we will reinvest into that and be able to utilize that for the upcoming years. So, but because we don't see training dollars associated there, that does not mean that we're not going to conduct training. We'll still continue to do decon courses. We just did a couple past couple of weeks. We are still trying to pull in, and we've made contacts with a lot of the federal courses that are federally funded to get out here because they're able to travel now. So we will still put on training events. We're going to have a little more workshops. So we'll be more workshop and exercise focused for this year. So in that regard, we will still get training, and again, that's going to start off when we do our Mercy exercise second week of July. So that's coming up pretty rapidly in about 2 months. More to come on that. We'll be sending out emails there. So I wanted to give you guys a good perspective of what we have here. Again, we will be updating or inputting all this information into eGrams. We are still using eGrams, and hopefully next year we'll move over to Amplifund, but we are using eGrams here now. And as things fall out, because every year things change, and we have opportunities to do what we call line item transfers inside of our budget, to where if there's something that we cannot allocate, what we do is we realign those funds to use them somewhere else. In part, I'm doing that right now, and I'm looking at a line item transfer that our grants management office is talking with the good folks at IDPH about, and that's so we can actually have a proper forklift for the new warehouse that we've started to move stuff into. So I'm going to pause here and open up for any questions grant related, BP4 or BP5.
Hey, Phil, this is Michelle. So if we aren't listed but submitted that proposal, does that mean it didn't get approved?
So if this is for the upcoming grant year, I would have to look back. I don't know if I saw one for you guys.
Okay, I'm probably thinking ahead.
Okay. So I will, yeah, because it kind of works. It's like a slingshot, or it's like you're seeing what's here, but this was submitted. Wow, I mean, I don't know how long ago now. A year ago. Folks that were a year ago submission. So yours may be in BP1s or the next one, but I'll double check, and we'll do whatever we can to try to manage, manipulate, squeeze whatever we can squeeze out of this. So
Oh, you're probably right. I think, just getting my years mixed up.
it's okay. Questions on the grant? Anything? So thank you to all those who did submit, and we'll receive some funding again. What I would ask though is that for those of you who had one for BP4 and are finishing out the year, please get those funds spent. You folks have been doing a great job at that. Please get your funds spent and get those reimbursement requests back into GMO. And hopefully we won't have any outstanding. We will finish everything in the grant year on time and start off fresh again. And I'm going to do as best I can, just so everybody knows, I'm going to do as best I can to get us to be authorized to spend quickly, like we did this past year, because that was a great help for us. So I'm thankful to IDPH that they authorized some of that spending, especially in the training area. All right, upcoming events. We do got the air show. What's that? Oh, is that next week? Wow. Let me look at the calendar, just double checking. Yep, starting next week. Again, a reminder, the summit is canceled. The new grant year begins 1 July. That mercy exercise is on July 12th. So for those of you who did raise your hand and say you wanted to participate in that, thank you. You will see an email next week with some kind of do outs or some things that you'll have to please pay attention to. So you'll receive some stuff in your inbox that will help you prepare for that exercise. Okay, we got another decon course. The next decon course looks like is in July. We just did like 3 or 4 back to back. We did one out at Christian on the 4th and 5th, or was it 4th, 5th? It was the last part. It was actually the last part of April. Lee headed out there, and I did one here early part of April. So we continued. So that's another 3 classes last month. So that's been going very well. And solar eclipse is still on the horizon. No pun intended. Floor is open. Anyone have any questions, concerns, items of note that they'd like to bring up for the coalition? I see Tina. She has her hand raised. Go ahead, Tina.
This is a question for you and Greg. So back in the COVID early years, when we did receive, supplies from the state or through our coalition, the disposable medical isolation gowns expired April the 15th. And what do we do with those supplies?
So from my understanding, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, once they're provided to you, they're yours. So as a region, my advice would potentially be to hold on to some of it. How much you want to hold on to is up to you. Because as we know, what we did with the N95s and other expired items, should something expire, it can be, we get an emergency use authorization as long as it passes a specific amount of criteria. But I would leave that up to you and how much of that you want to add to your kind of cash, so to speak, as a fallback, just in case you had to break those open if we had some other, wild virus just go rampant and you need those. Greg, I don't know of any other information with regard to supplies provided by the state or the federal government.
No, I mean, they're not going back. So certainly double check to make sure that there hasn't been an extension on the expiration dates. But also remember, you can use that equipment for training as well. So yeah, you want to hold some of it back so that, in case you want to do some training with your folks, and that way you're not using fresh PPE to train, you're using expired PPE.
Indeed. John, I see your hand up.
Yes, sir. Just add to your event list, sir, the NASCAR.
Oh yeah.
Is June. The actual NASCAR race is June 4th, but we'll start expecting, many folks moving into the area probably starting that Thursday, which would be June 1st. So just know that that's another extremely large event where, 50, 70,000 people could be there.
Got it. Thank you.
Phil, this is Nancy at Boyd.
Go ahead, Nancy.
I just wanted to let you know we have a certified de-escalation trainer right now. We went through Crisis Prevention Institute, and we had to pay like $4,200 to get him certified, but he is going to start doing training next week here at Boyd, and then once he gets comfortable with all that, we're planning on hiring him out if anybody else needs it.
Oh, very nice. Thank you, Nancy, for letting us know. So that you got that with a CPI, right? You said it was a Crisis Prevention
Yes.
Institute. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Any last notes? Anyone? Okay. Hearing none, we're going to close it out here. Our next coalition meeting will be on the 7th of June, and we'll be closing out the grant year. And on that time, again, we will take another review at the budget, just a little more in detail of what those items are, just so everybody's aware of where your tax dollars are going. So thank you, and I will talk at you soon. Take care, everybody.